Wow. Look at these faces. Are you happy to be here?
Yeah.
You really don't look like it.
Yeah.
Well, stand on up. Let's form a circle. We're going to play a game. Well, we're not going to really play a game, I guess. It's more we're going to dance. Who likes to dance? You like to dance? Okay, let's form a circle. Form a little bit of a circle. Let's get you here. I know you know this one, okay? You're going to do it with me, right? Who knows the hokey pokey? Wow, I got even more sour faces up here. Okay, we'll just do 2 verses, okay? The first one, okay? We're going to put our arm in, okay, first. So who wants to start? Go ahead, Blaine. No. Okay, I'm going to do the hokey pokey. What do you do first? Put my right arm in. We're going to take it out. Put the right arm in. Come on, in and shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. Wow, this is really sad. Okay, the next one, we're going to jump in, our whole body's in, okay? We're going to jump ourselves in. We're going to jump right out, our whole selves in, and we're going to shake them all about. Do the hokey pokey and turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. Wow. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Come on, sit down. Have a seat, guys. Wow. I thought every kid liked that song just to be goofy. You're not in a goofy mood today, huh? Back in school and back into routine and got a 3-day weekend. Well, this, whether you believe it or not, this has something to do with the Bible verse today. The Bible verse today is from the book of Luke. It's a hard one. Jesus said some harsh words about how following Jesus and loving Jesus is not as easy as you might think it is. Because you have to give yourself up, your whole self up. Kind of like that song we just sang about putting your whole self in, bringing it out. Because Jesus tells us that the only way to follow him is to put our whole selves in. So, what does that mean? Does that mean at school? Does that mean at home? Does that mean when we are at soccer or baseball or football practice that we have to follow Jesus? That means all the time. It means following Jesus and loving everyone. Now, I hope everyone can see this. We've got a lone guy over here being contrary. But loving Jesus is everybody together, even when we don't feel like it. It means being nice to maybe other kids that, most kids don't talk to. Means maybe even giving a little bit of yourself away to them, whether it be money or time or kindness. That's part of giving your whole self to Jesus. So as all of these may be tough things to do, Jesus does want us to give our whole selves to follow him. Not just on Sundays at church, but Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays too. All day on Sunday. And that's good news that Jesus promises to be with us all those days too. So even when you don't get it right the first time, it's okay, because he's there to help you and to learn from that and to guide you and uplift you. Okay? We'll mess up. I mess up all the time. You're not alone. Even us adults don't get it right all the time. But it's okay to get up and try again every single day, to put our whole selves in for God, okay? Because that's what it's all about. Can you sing that line for me? That's what it's all about. Wow, tough crowd today. Okay, so let's pray then. Can you pray with me? God, love is what you offer us each and every day, and is what our lives are all about. Help us to put our whole selves into following and loving you. Amen. Thank you, guys.
Economics has never been my strongest school of study, but I get by. I know how to find a bargain, how to make the most of my money, but I've also found that that's kind of an arbitrary process. Walking into Kroger and paying $1 for a bottle of ketchup just because that's what it's marked at may or may not be the best deal. First, it's a matter of the brand. Because let's face it, not all ketchup is equal. And then there's the whole ratio by size and cost. That matters too. Comes the certain and sure knowledge that it'll be cheaper in Meijer if I buy it in Kroger. But then again, it'll be cheaper in Kroger if I buy it first at Meijer. It's just the way it works. And that's just the finances of ketchup, let alone higher aspects of finance. And all this became all the more readily apparent to me as I traveled and visited Nicaragua over and over again. I usually, over the course of early in every place, do a children's ministry with my little coin bag from Nicaragua. I haven't been able to do that here because it seems to have gotten lost in the last move, which is really a shame because it was starting to collect a little bit of money in that change bag. The basic unit of money in Nicaragua is the Cordoba. I may have even had a 500 cord note in that bag by now. I know I had a couple of hundreds and assorted 10s and 20s and a good bit of 1 and 5 cord coins. The idea in the children's message is to count up the stacks of money and then ask, what is it really worth? How much does that all reflect in U.S. currency? So for the sake of argument, say in my little coin bag, wherever it happens to be, I had 750 Cordoba by now. And when I turn in the police report for the insurance claim against my 750 Cordoba, what will I put down as the value in U.S. currency? Without looking at your smartphones, anyone got a guess? $1? It's a little better than $1. $7.50, $5. The current exchange rate is a lot better than you seem to think. The current exchange rate is 28.8 to 1. So my 750 Cordoba is worth $26.04, which is a tank of gas, at least in my daughter's car, not mine. But what you can get in Nicaragua with it. A night stay at the motel is $22 in U.S. A rotisserie chicken and 2-liter bottle of pop at the supermarket is $5.81 U.S. That's a full chicken, folks. Now, you can get a bottle of Tonya beer for $1. 2 cord or 7 cents will get you on a bus just about anywhere you want to go in Managua. $3.50 will get you entrance into the Messiah volcano, where you can actually look down into the throat of an active volcano. And yet at the same time, if you want to buy construction material, buy a car, buy property, the prices will rival and quite possibly exceed what we pay in the United States. You see, in our world, economy is relative. Cost is relative, except when it isn't. Today's scripture has to do with cost. In part, there's that familiar line invoked that, pick up your cross and follow me. No, it's not word for word, but we get the message all the same. It's that thing and what it looks like. I had a friend back in Oregon, a good, godly man, led Bible studies at work at Harry and David. He invited me to come to see him one Good Friday in one of our communities in the Rogue Valley, where he would take the day, walk the streets carrying a cross and preaching the good news. I decided to go and check in on him and see how he did this. And when I found him, he had a 5-foot tall, proportionally set cross made of 2x4s, mounted on a set of wagon wheels so that it would easily roll around behind him as he walked through the streets. Now, I think that in general, my good friend's witness was more effective than probably the guy with the bullhorn outside of the Reds baseball stadium every night, shouting at people. But at the same time, against the meaning of Jesus, forced to carry to the place of his execution the actual instrument of his execution, I don't know that my friend had the right image in mind. He had taken that cost and reduced it to something that was easy for him to bear. The economy of God, cost, is not a relative term. That's Jesus' message in the parable. Know the cost of what it is you're doing before you find that you cannot come close to what it is that you are attempting, because you'll look like a fool. In Cincinnati, on 71, right at the Montgomery Road exit, there was a building that stood ever since we arrived here, half completed, because the builder failed to initially count up the full cost. For 10 years it sat, rusting away as nothing but steel girders, till finally someone had the money to purchase it and complete it. And yes, all of Cincinnati knew it as that person's folly and pointed out. The 10th chapter of Mark teaches a story similar in understanding costs. It's here that we read that story about the rich young man coming to Jesus, asking, "What must I do to gain heaven?" he asks. Jesus replies, "Follow the commandments." "I do that already," he said. "What more must I do?" Jesus says, "Sell all your possessions and follow me." And the man went away sad because he had much. But that's not really the story I'm thinking about when I think of Mark 10. That one's all too obvious. It's what happens a few verses down that really actually makes my point. Coincidentally, found in the exact same chapter. As if there's a connection we should note. James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came forward to ask him and said to him, "Teacher, we want you to do whatever we ask of you." He said to them, "What is it you want me to do?" They said to him, "Grant us to sit, one on your right hand and one on your left hand, in your glory." But Jesus said to them, "You do not know what it is you're asking for. Are you able to drink the cup that I drink, to be baptized in the baptism that I am baptized with?" They replied, "We are able." Then Jesus said to them, "The cup that I drink, you will drink. The baptism with which I am baptized, you will be baptized. But to sit at my right hand and my left hand is not mine to grant, but is for those whom is already prepared." Tell me, good church, where is it that Jesus attains his glory? I heard it muttered slightly. Say it louder. Where? The cross. Jesus obtains his glory on the cross. Tell me, good church, who is at his left and his right when he obtains glory? The thief and the murderer. One who recognizes him and one who does not. And tell me, what happens to them? They die. Executed on the cross as well. You see, James and John ask for something, not understanding the cost, the expectation. They thought it was something that could be negotiated, that it was relative, that it would be what they wanted. But discipleship does not come cheaply, and discipleship is the ideal, what we as the church expect of ourselves and each other. Discipleship. At least that's what the leadership team agreed to the last time they met. Kind of. It's also what the intentional faith development team agreed to, what we met. Kind of. I was leading the discussion, and what I asked of both those groups is, what is the mission of our church? And that's all Susan Cheeseman's fault, because she was sitting in both meetings and gave the exact same answer in both of them, which is, there you go, which is our motto and mission as the United Methodist Church. However, when I say it, I always add, to be and make disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world, because to make disciples, you first have to be disciples. Are you hearing me? And the economy of God is not negotiable. Let me put this in something that we can see. You see, we're given 10 apples. 10 apples. And in one of the aspects of our discipleship, we're told to take the first apple and set that aside for God. And then we have 9 more apples to do with as we need. And at least in my household, well, let's see. The first 2 apples go to our house payment, which is the bank. There's the bank, give them. And then equally, our second 2 apples go to pay for the insurance, because not only do we have our house insurance, but we have our 4 cars that we insure, and so we have to give 2 apples to the insurance man. And then we bought this house, and so now we have to actually furnish it and put stuff in it, and so we got to give the guy who makes all the furniture something, right? And we still, let's see, we go and we give off to other kinds of things beyond the church, these other aspects and nonprofits and groups that we support. And then, of course, while we don't have any kids in elementary school or high school, we still have kids that are in school, and we have to pay for some of that kind of stuff. Let's see. We still have to buy groceries, and the guy who makes some food for us, and gas and all of that kind of expense, and that just kind of goes to wherever it goes, right? But the truth is, most of us don't even set aside 1 apple for God. The latest study says 20% of Christians actually attempt to tithe. Look to your left. Go ahead, look to your left. Look to your right. None of you tithe. The guy that tithes is sitting 2 seats behind you. So we cut that apple in half, or less, use it for our own purposes. And then the car breaks down, we have to fix that, and that money's got to come from somewhere, right? Oh gosh, we really need to eat out because, we're in town and we forgot. And then, those shoes, they look perfect with my outfit. And so this is what we have left to give to God. And we call that discipleship. All of discipleship, at one level or another, is stewardship. Sometimes it's the money, but it's also time, talent, everything else that goes into building up the community of a church. Some of that time is invested in self, with Bible study and devotion and prayer. Some of that is sent out, invested in the surrounding world, in sharing that light outward beyond the walls of the church. And God called for our best and first gifts, not the leftovers. Over and over again since I have been here, I have heard people tell me, "Oh, Pastor, just tell us what you need, and we'll be able to provide it. What you're telling me is that we give what we want to give when we want to give it. And we negotiate with God because we think the price is relative. It's not. If we are to be the church, it calls for our first and our best. And the cost in God's economy is not negotiable. A little card. We've talked about it here. We've had it in use since April. It takes all of 2 minutes, if even that. We have a wall back there that we have started with some of the answered prayers. So there's a few people who do it. Two minutes isn't even a tenth of the apple. And yet, in almost 7 months of doing this, we have all of 6 answered prayers. Either we don't know how to pray, or we're not doing it. This is not my church. I'm here for a time. I lead you. I'm here to inspire you, encourage you, help you build your church. Because that's what it is. It's your church. And there are good things. When we can stand up as one of only 3 churches in the county, represented to the county in sharing our music outward. But there's so much more we could do. It's not that the church needs your time, your treasure, your energies. We're financially fine. We're limping through doing the programming we're doing. But if we took seriously giving God the first and the best, what a beacon we could truly be.